Hello! Today we're talking about the new Pokemon news that came out today in the Direct. There's a lot of information that came with it, such as new characters, new Pokemon, some gameplay developments, and obviously we had a closer look at some of the maps, and we had a lot of information regarding, well, how this game might play. Not so much directly, but just in terms of what we saw in the trailer, there seems to be a few variations in what we're used to, and also a few things that we are very used to, but that's to be expected. So first of all, we can talk about some of the NPCs that we were introduced to. One of the first NPCs that was shown in the Direct was the League Champion by the name of Leon. Now this is cool because we don't usually get to see the League Champion so early on in the release of a game. Like, for instance, we didn't know Kukui was League Champion in Sun and Moon. We didn't know Diantha was League Champion in X and Y at this stage. We only knew when the game came out. So they're telling us very early about him, and we even know one of his Pokemon. That's a Charizard. How original. He looks alright, I suppose, apart from that goatee and that weird ass outfit. If you notice, there's a few shots of him where he turns his back, and on his cape there's like these sponsorship stuff. So that could be, I don't know, like UFC or boxing related, or it could just be, like sports sponsorship, general sort of thing. But yeah, that's our League Champion Leon, sporting horrible facial hair and purple long flowing locks. And then we also get introduced to his little brother, who has the very unfortunate name of Hop. H-O-P. He's our rival, our neighbor, as per usual. And yeah, he is Leon's younger brother, and he wants to be exactly like his brother. He wants to be the League Champion. So we need to crush his dreams in this story. And I like his design more than his older brothers. He looks kind of cool and trendy. Nothing more I can really say about him. He's just a basic ass rival. I miss the days when rivals were actually the bad guy, like Silver and Gary in the original game, because they seem to just have they're riding on the train together in a few shots. They don't seem like they hate each other. I want them to hate each other, but alas. Anyways, I digress. We go to the lab eventually, and we meet this generation's professor, the lovely old lady Magnolia. And as per the trend of professors in every game, their research is focused on the new feature of the game. The new feature in this game is called Dynamax. We'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, that's what Professor Magnolia's key research is on. And she has a helper, who is a granddaughter, and she's called Sonia. And apparently, according to the website, Magnolia gave Sonia some special research task, and they don't mention anything more about that. I'm guessing it's something to do with a legendary Pokemon, or it could just be regarding Dynamax and all that stuff. I don't know. So Sonia's cool. She's a helper character, so like Dawn or Bianca. She's just gonna give us advice and gonna help us through the game. She looks cool. I like her design. Also very trendy, like kinda hipstery, like our character is, our default clothing are. Yeah, definite Rule 34 bait, but that's for you to decide. And then we also met Milo, who is the grass type gym leader, and I really like Milo's design. He has no nose. I think noses are overrated. I like how he's built. He's built like a rugby player. But he has a cricket umpire hat, or it could just be a wide brimmed hat, but I think it's a cricket umpire's hat, because then you have the rugby player physique with the soccer player sort of uniform, could also be a rugby uniform, and then you have the cricket hat, so it's like all referencing sports that were invented in Great Britain. Something that we noticed in regards to the characters is their mouths move. Amazing, absolutely amazing. They express themselves. They're not these soulless husks of beings. They actually have emotion. We were talking about it, and we were saying that it's probably just a cycled animation, but it would be really cool if it wasn't, and they were actually talking, and we saw their mouths move while they talk. But yeah, there's a nice big batch of NPCs that we were introduced to. And honestly, in spite of some of the less cool designs that we saw, I think in general they look nice. They look consistent with the theme of the game. And yeah, I look forward to seeing the rest of the gym leaders and the Elite Four. Although I have to be honest, there is a big disappointment in regards to the main character themselves. The customization is the same as it's always been, or as it's been since X and Y. You just kind of have these presets of skin tones, and I don't even think you can change your eye color or anything. No difference in facial structure, no difference in hairstyle from the beginning, which I think is bogus. So you're basically, yeah, you're just color changing with the same shape of face, the same body, nothing interesting about it, which is unfortunate. I mean, some people will say, oh, it's not important. Like, you play Pokemon for Pokemon, but it's an RPG. You want to customize as much of it as possible, I think. And it would be cool if they threw in a bit more options for the actual main player character. It would just add a little bit of a polish onto what I'm assuming is going to be an already decent game. And now for the part of the direct I was most excited about, the real meat and two veg of the direct. We got introduced to a few new Pokemon. And I have to say, I like all of them. Yeah, I like all of them, and I have very strong feelings about two of them. And one of them that I have very strong feelings about is Wooloo. The Wooloo is a sheep, and it's fucking adorable. Yeah. So we see it pop up a lot in the trailer, and we see it pop up in areas that are confirmed to be early. So this is like, I don't think it's meant to replace the traditional rat of the game, but it's cool that it's an early Pokemon. It's a normal type. From the website we can tell it's a normal type, and it actually has a really decent ability. It's Fluffy. So Fluffy halves damage dealt from physical attacks, but it makes you weak to fire, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Wooloo. Wooloo is really cool. I will probably add it to my party if I play this game. Yeah, that's all I have to say about it. And it's a really nice, solid design. It's not too much going on. It's a sheep. What more can you want? And then we had gossifleur, which is one of the new Pokemon I don't have too strong feelings about. That's alright. It reminds me of Petalil and Whimsicott. Apparently, according to the direct, it favors clean air, or areas with clean air and clean water. So it's the anti-pollution Pokemon. The one interesting thing about gossifleur and its evolution eldegoss is that they have a new ability called Cotton Down. So Cotton Down is basically the same as Gooey, except it works for physical and special attacks. So Gooey and this ability drops your speed whenever the Pokemon is attacked. So Goodra, that's the one ability Goodra has. The other being Sapsipper. With Goodra, you have to attack it physically. With gossifleur, any attack and your speed is dropping. So I feel like that's actually not too bad. It's a pretty decent utility sort of ability. I might help it tier depending on what its stats are like, but we won't get into that. It's pure grass type, which is refreshing. Yeah, I like pure typings. I've come to like pure typings. It's nice to see just a pure type for once. And then we have Drednaw, which is very obviously a snapping turtle, and I kind of like this design. I was kind of crossing my fingers, hoping in the back of my mind, hoping it's not the dragon type, because I think that typing has become a bit overused, and I could easily have seen them. When I saw it, I could have easily imagined it being dragon type, just for the sake of it being reptilian. But it's not. It's water and rock type, and it has the ability Strong Jaw or Shell Armor, which, yeah, makes sense. That's all I have to say about Drednaw. We were speaking about it earlier, and we were saying that we hope it evolves, but I don't think it will. I think that's that on that. And then one of my favorites, I think my absolute favorite out of all of the new Pokemon, Corviknight. The edgy bird. It's also the taxi of the game, which is even more cool because it actually has a taxi. It has like a little cart. We see in the trailer it's standing on a crow's perch that looks like a London black cab. That's just great. It's awesome. It looks so cool. It has a great name. Corvian, like a crow. Knight as in knight. Design concept is awesome. Its feathers are like shaped in plate armor. And it's still flying. Yes. Amazing typing. Not great abilities, pressure, unnerve. They're alright, but still flying is really good typing. And I'm always like new Pokemon to have good typing. So yeah, corviknight definitely my standout favorite out of all the new releases. And there were 2 other new Pokemon that came out, but we'll give us a second. We'll get to them eventually. Moving on swiftly. Well, since this is a new Pokemon game, you'd expect some gameplay changes, and we do actually get a hint of a few small interesting changes and one big interesting change. So one thing that you notice in the direct is you have overworld sprites just kind of walking around the map like in Pokemon Let's Go, and I really like this. It's probably one of my favorite things about how Let's Go looks, and it just adds an extra dimension to the game. I don't think it's replacing grass encounters. I just think that it's a nice thing that the game has. From what they spoke about in regards to Pokemon in areas, like these overworld Pokemon, their appearance is dependent on time of day, weather, and they just said vaguely area. Now, I don't know if this means that they're in the wild areas. That's something we'll touch on in a bit as well. Or whether it refers to the entire wild area or parts of the wild area where these specific Pokemon will spawn. But either way, there's certain factors that go into what Pokemon spawns in the overworld. And I think that they're differentiated from Pokemon that will be in the grass, in that the grass are always set encounters, and then the overworld Pokemon will have these prerequisites to spawn. That's how I think it will go, or at least that's how I hope it will go. One of the other features we see is the bike. We know that the bike can change forms. So your bike is everything in one. It's your rough terrain bike and it can go in water. So I assume that's going to replace surf, I want to say. There's this really cool James Bond looking shot where the dude is like riding the bike and it looks like a jet ski sort of thing. Or like, not even a jet ski, it looks like something completely different. Yeah, it's crazy. I do like it. I always like things that make Pokemon easier to play or make the shit parts of Pokemon easier to play. And, you know, HMs and stuff, they already phased that out in Sun and Moon, so they're just adding another way to do that in this game. So I'm never going to complain about that. Rotom is back in a tertiary role, as he's an iPhone now, which, you know, that's... Whatever you think about that, I don't really care. I think it's fine. You know, add a layer of branding. It's not just a generic Pokédex or generic key item. It's a Rotom, you know? Something interesting. We see a dude shaking berries at some point, shaking a tree and berries falling out. This could be something new, or it could just be how it looks when you pick berries. We'll have to just wait and see. And then we also got some new animations for moves. We saw Hydro Pump, we saw, you know, like some basic stuff like Tackle. But we also saw some crazy new animations, and we'll get to that in just a second. Wild areas, what I just mentioned earlier. So this, I find this super interesting. We don't necessarily have routes. We have, basically the map is divided between cities, towns, and wild areas. So wild areas are the untamed masses of land between cities and towns and built up areas. And they're essentially open, where all these wild Pokemon roam. And they all have different biomes and different weather cycles, from what I can tell. I just think that's a really cool decision design-wise. It makes more sense, like it's more realistic than to just have a bunch of routes all like everywhere over the map. It makes the game feel more open world, even though it isn't, but it makes it feel and look more open world. So that's always gonna be something that I'd favor. And then we saw something kind of weird. There's a moment in the direct where the trainer's whistling to attract the Pokemon, and then you see these question mark bubbles pop up over this Pokemon's overworld sprite. So we were kind of theorizing about it, and we were thinking like, okay, maybe that whole thing with whistling has something to do with another thing that we saw, which was the sneak mechanic. It looks like the sneak mechanic has also come back. So we were saying that perhaps for these overworld Pokemon, some of them you can just approach, some of them you have to lure with a whistle, or some of them you have to sneak up on. I think that would be a nice idea, but we'll have to just wait and see. And then the big thing, the big thing from this direct is the gimmick of this generation, which is called Dynamax. Yeah, think of it what you will, but this is essentially the Mega Evolution Z-move equivalent of Gen 8. And what Dynamax does is it makes a Pokemon huge, and it powers up their moves, turning their moves into max variation. And you can only do this once in a battle, and it lasts for 3 turns. Cool. Not cool. Cool. I don't know. I don't really care. I don't like it that much. But, I mean, it's somewhat interesting, changing the typing and... I'm not changing the typing, changing the power of moves. It's kind of like Z-move light for every single one of your moves. I'm interested to see what happens to non-offensive moves during this Dynamax stage. But Dynamax, as far as we can tell, only occurs in gym battles and in another new feature in the game called Max Raids. Now this is lifted, or the concept is lifted straight out of Pokemon Go. Basically all throughout the map, scattered throughout the map, you have these hubs where you connect with other people. And you can connect with, I think it's either 4 other people or 4 people total can play a multiplayer game where you take on this big ass Pokemon and then you beat it and you catch it. So some Pokemon can only be caught in these max raids, and I like that. That's probably the one thing I like about it that relates to Dynamax in this game. I think raiding is probably the one thing that made Pokemon Go interesting for a while, so it would make sense that they put it in a main series game. And yeah, multiplayer options in Pokemon have always been lacking, so it's nice to have another one of those, so I'm not going to actually complain about that. Another piece of information we got is that apparently weather will change every day, and weather, like I said earlier, determines the spawn of certain overworld sprites, and it also determines certain max raid ports as well. So weather plays a big role in this game from what we can tell, which, yeah, again, take that with a grain of salt. I'm kind of indifferent to it. Either way, Dynamax, it's here to stay. We have to live with it, learn to love it, or whatever. So the direct ended with probably my favorite part of the trailer, the legendary Pokemon reveal. And yeah, I'm really excited for them. I think they both look really cool. We got zacien. I want to say zacien. I can't remember. Zacien and Zamazenta, which is in competition for one of the coolest Pokemon names ever. It's so nice to say. It has Z's in it, and we all know Z's are cool. But anyway, they're both wolves, but they're 2 different wolves. Zacien has a blade in his mouth, and I love that because it looks like Sif from Dark Souls. And yeah, I've mentioned Dark Souls now. It's probably like the 1000th time I've mentioned Dark Souls. And then you have Zamazenta, who's a shield. And yeah, I really like how the shield kind of retracts, and then while speaking of that, there's actually a moment where they kind of form change, like just a little bit. Reminds me of how Xerneas had its horns change colors. Yeah. So basically with Zamazenta, his shields, his mane like opens up and becomes like a flat shield and glows, and then Zacien, the sword completely changes. It turns into this fucking Soul Calibur looking thing, which is cool. I like it. I like little stuff like that. I don't know if it's gonna have any, relevance in battle, but I just think it looks good, really cool. There was some interesting stuff, or one interesting thing about that final trailer for the legendaries. What happens is the wind starts swirling up and they both look very concerned and they turn their backs to each other and they go into these like offensive looking forms and they look like they're readying themselves for something, and then the trailer ends. So this is very obviously alluding to another legendary Pokemon, probably the third in a trio, or maybe something completely different. Could even be alluding to the evil team, if the evil team is, you know, on that level where they're messing with legendary Pokemon. But I hope, or I think that it's probably alluding to the third legendary Pokemon. All in all, these are really good title legendaries. My one critique, I do think that the color palettes are a little bit basic, but other than that, design and concept, yeah, knocked it out the park. Names are cool. Yeah, really good job. Probably, I would say I like them as much as Lunala and Solgaleo. Maybe not more, but as much. They'll probably grow on me, or I might start liking them less. We don't know. We've only seen this. I've literally only known these Pokemon for a few hours, so we'll see. Pokemon Sword and Shield comes out on November 15th, and based on what we've seen from this Pokemon Direct, we're in for quite an interesting experience. I'm very excited. I'm sure everyone else is very excited as well. We got a lot of information, but not too much was given away, which is a good thing. Don't show me everything. For instance, we didn't see any Sartre evolutions, we didn't see a lot of the map, and hopefully it stays this way for a long time. We don't want what happened with the promotion for Sun and Moon, where all of a sudden we knew everything about the game before the game came out. Either way, there's a lot to look forward to, based on what we've seen here today, and based on what could potentially happen. Yeah, that's that on that. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you. Catch you on the flip side and stay crispy.